Hello, and welcome to A Friend Like Me podcast. I am your host, Shariel, and I started this podcast because everybody needs a friend like me. Today's topic is a continuation from my last episode, Do You Self-Sabotage? Part 2. But before we get into that, I want to tell you guys I've been gone for a little bit, but I'm back now. I had to situate some things, but they're in order. So we're getting right back into this. And if you're a listener or if you're new, I have my first segment of my podcast, which I call What I've Noticed. And what I've noticed is that when you're at a traffic light, but you're not the first car never pays attention. They're looking down, they're dozing off, they're on their phone, they're picking their nose. I don't know what they're doing. But when it turns green, guess who's not driving? Them. They're at the light, literally daydreaming, while all of us are in back of them wanting to beep. You know, I'm in Connecticut, I'm not from New York, but New Yorkers will beep at you before it turns green. But I'm like, okay, I give people 2.5 Mississippis before I beep at you. And usually I do beep because people really don't pay attention. And then once I beep, by the time they paid attention, the other half of the cars didn't make the light. So my suggestion is if you're one of those people, or if you realize you're one of those people, when you're the first car at the traffic light, pay attention so everybody makes the light, not just you. Anyway, let's get right back into the main topic, which is Do You Self-Sabotage? Part 2. Part 1 had the first 5 signs that you self-sabotage. So in part 2, of course, I will be starting with point number 6. And the 6th sign that shows you may self-sabotage is staying in your comfort zone. All of us, I don't care, most people, 80% of us love to be in our comfort zone because it's comfortable, we're familiar, it's not scary, but also you don't grow there. And my analogy for that is a houseplant. When you buy a houseplant, it starts off smaller, it's healthy, it's in its first pot. And when you do those right things like watering it, following directions, whether it should be in direct sunlight or not in direct sunlight, the plant starts to flourish, it starts to grow in that first pot, the first stage. But when you start to water something and it's growing, but you don't transplant it into a bigger pot, now there's too many roots for that smaller pot, and instead of the plant continuing to grow, it doesn't grow anymore and it basically dies. And that's what a lot of us do. Instead of transplanting ourselves from one phase in life, we like to stay in phase 1. The same old friends, the same old relationship, the same old hometown, whether we're growing or not, we don't care because say we're doing okay. We're like, I'm fine. I'm not struggling. I'm around people that love me. But are you getting better? Are you growing? And are you truly happy? A lot of us like to lie to ourselves. We let fear trick us to be like, I'm okay. I don't need to be outside of these lines. But it's like, no, you know you're not happy because you're not progressing the way you could if you stepped outside of that comfort zone. Literally, that's how you develop resentment and regret because you stayed boxed in. And even sometimes we step out of our comfort zone and we don't get the results we want right away. So what do? We run right back to the same old, and you'll never grow that way. So even if you step outside of your comfort zone and it doesn't work out, keep doing it. And that's my solution. Do little baby steps of things that make you uncomfortable. If you're an introvert, go to social outings. If you want to start a candle business, buy the wax, buy the scents, learn how to do things on YouTube. If you want to move, you don't have to move to a new state, but move an hour away to a place that has a job you can get because we have to stop staying in our comfort zone. It's going to stunt you, and literally, life is too short to live like that. So let's get into the next point. The 7th sign that shows you may self-sabotage is being a perfectionist. So many of us struggle with this, including me. I was a perfectionist for most of my life. I probably stopped being a perfectionist about 5 years ago. This started from a child for me. I had piano lessons, and when I would do really good, I'd get a shooting star sticker. And there was levels to it. If you did okay, you might get a sticker, but if you did excellent, you got a shooting star sticker. And most of the time I did get that, and I would strive for that. But when I didn't get a shooting star sticker from my piano teacher, I was disappointed in myself. And what I didn't realize as that 8-year-old is, even though I didn't do perfect, I was still better than I was the last lesson. I was still progressing. When you're a perfectionist, you need everything to be perfect. The timing, the tools, the people around you, every single circumstance, every single detail. And real life just does not work like that. Most of the time, things do not line up the way you want them to. And now because things aren't lining up, you delay your own progress because you want it to be perfect. So you'll shelf that idea, that invention you have, or that endeavor you want to do, doing that podcast, whatever it is, because you want it to be perfect instead of using the tools you have. You want to start a YouTube channel. You don't have a nice camera and a ring light. Use your phone, but you want it to be perfect. So now you've been wanting to do a YouTube channel and you haven't for 2 years now. And it seems more and more impossible because more and more people are doing YouTube now. Because ultimately, perfection is the enemy of progress. If you need everything to be perfect, which most of the time it won't be, you're only stunting your own growth. And my solution for not being a perfectionist is rewiring your brain by not focusing on every little detail to be perfect to do something. You just waiting on the perfect moment and all these other things is not going to happen. It's real life. We live in real life. So please use what tools and knowledge you have to go after what you want to do and focus on getting better rather than being perfect. Because when you're getting better, you are progressing and you will reach almost a level of perfection, but you won't have that pressure of trying to be perfect. The 8th sign that shows you may self-sabotage is being a people pleaser. A sign of being a people pleaser is saying yes to somebody when you know it's going to hurt you in the end. If Saturday's your only day off and somebody asks you, "Oh, can you do my hair?" or "Oh, can you help me move?" and you know you've been breaking your back at work all week and you say yes, because you don't want them to be mad at you or be a bad friend, that's self-sabotage. Because you're getting the short end of the stick. You worked for 6 days a week. Saturday's your only day off. And now you got to help somebody move a refrigerator. That's not fair to you. And the thing is, with people pleasers, we're so kind and giving that we literally torture ourselves when we say yes when you should say no. Another sign you may be a people pleaser is if you put others before yourself. A lot of the times people call it selfish, but it's like, no, if I don't put myself first, I'm not going to be a happy person. How can I pour into you if my cup is empty? It doesn't work like that. You need to make sure that your cup is full, you're replenishing yourself and putting yourself first before you're helping other people. If you're giving somebody your last dollar and you know your bills are coming up, now look at you, you're in debt. Your credit score is going to go down because you wanted to give somebody $50 that you didn't really have to give. So please put yourself first. And the problem with people pleasing is that humans in general are never satisfied. You can have a family member or a friend that says, "Oh, you never call me." So you call them. You start calling them once a month. Like, "You only call me once a month." Then you call them every week. They're like, "Oh, you call me once a week, but when you talk to me, you don't ever say much." Because I call you every week, there's nothing to talk about now. Not that much happens in my life. So now it went from you don't call me enough to you don't talk about your life enough. And that's what I'm talking about with people. They're never satisfied. So you might as well not bow down to their request because now you're miserable and bending over backwards for somebody that's still not happy with your effort. And the worst part about being a people pleaser is the stress you have because you can't say no, because you're always getting the short end of the stick and you're not accomplishing your goals. Now it's stressing you out. And we don't take stress seriously enough. Stress can kill you. Literally, it can. It can break you out in hives. You can get acne from stress. I've gotten acne from stress. Stress is terrible for your body. Why are you doing this to yourself? And my solution for people pleasing is saying no. Say no. Practice it. Even if it's like people ask you for favors, every third favor, say no. if you really can't help until you build that muscle, because you're literally going to drive yourself into the ground. And the ninth sign that shows you may self-sabotage is neglecting yourself. When I say neglecting yourself, I'm talking about emotionally, physically, and mentally. America promotes constant pleasure, entertainment, social media, eating whatever you want, and those things will have you in a spiral, a downward spiral, okay? Being sensitive to people's income, everybody can't afford to eat everything organic, but you still can make better choices. You can choose to eat something that's deep fried or eat something that's baked. Those are small choices that make such a difference in our health. If you can't afford a gym membership, you can still go walk somewhere. You can walk around a park, walk around a mall, or if you have stairs, walk up and down your stairs. There is a way to exercise. If you don't have stairs, you can buy a $5 jump rope from Five Below and start jump roping 5 minutes a day. It's going to make a huge difference for you. Another thing we don't do enough is hydrate ourselves. We may do it in the summer or if you live in a hot climate, but water is so important. Like 70% of our body is water, if I'm not mistaken. It may even be higher than that. But we sometimes have to put down the juices and the sodas and drink more water. Even myself, I do not drink enough water, and this is why I wake up dehydrated in the morning, every morning. Another thing that we have to do and stop neglecting ourselves is making time to stretch. If you don't stretch in the morning, you need to make sure you're stretching before you go to bed. But preferably stretch when you wake up, stretch when you go to bed, because our joints and our body need to be stretched out, okay? And that's for physical, right? Mentally, it is time to take breaks from social media. This is what I've done recently. I took about 2 or 3 weeks where I was barely on social media, and it was so much better for my mental health. Being on social media, you're just seeing too many people's lives, and it just causes comparison. It just does. We don't need to know what everybody's doing all the time. It's time for us to focus on us. If you have a dirty room in your house, you shouldn't be on Instagram. You need to go clean it up and mop the floor. And this is stuff I'm talking to me, you guys. I'm not bashing anybody. This is stuff I had to do. I had to clean out my whole entire sewing room because it was a mess, okay? Keeping my car clean, keeping your spaces clean, not neglecting what the things around you makes such a difference with your mental health. Doing those loads of laundry that you don't want to do. These all do affect our mental health. With this one, I'm giving solutions at the same time of, problem areas that we may have. And spiritually, we do neglect what we need to be doing. I'm a Christian, so there's no excuse for me not to read at least a scripture a day. There's no excuse, you know what I mean? And there's times where I don't read the Bible for maybe a week. And then I feel like crap, or I don't spend enough time with God. I don't pray to him enough. I don't have enough quiet time where I'm turning off my laptop, turning off YouTube, putting my phone down, or putting down the sewing stuff. You got to spend time with your creator, with your heavenly father. So when I neglect that, I also feel like poop. I really do. And I'm working on that every day, making sure I spend time with God, because it makes such a difference when you stop neglecting those things. So please stop neglecting yourself, because it affects your body, your soul, and your mind. And the last point, number 10, the 10th sign that shows you self-sabotage is speaking negatively about yourself. I know so many people that literally speak so bad about themselves or their situation, and I may sound dramatic saying so bad, but when you say, oh, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, even saying little stuff like that is so bad, because your words shape your world. I promise you. And it's even biblical. Proverbs 18:21. It talks about death and life are in the power of your tongue. So the words you say to yourself out loud and in your head, and the words you say to other people, and the words you say about your situation, it can either bring life to it or bring death to it. And my example of this is, oh, I'll never lose this weight. So when you go to the gym, what are you going to do? Are you going to work hard? Or are you even going to go to the gym? No, you're not. You're not. You're like, what's the point? Or I can't find anybody better. So what do? Stay with that partner that doesn't make you happy, that isn't fulfilling, you're not growing. Or I'm never going to make it out of my hometown. Even in your head, you may not say it out loud, but deep down you're like, I'm never going to make it out of here, so I might as well settle down here, get a job, and have a family here, even though I'm not happy here. These words you're saying in your head, I'm not good enough, it can't happen for me. These words that you say in your head or out loud, these are words of death, because this, you could have created something new, but you spoke death over it, so now it's dead. And speaking life over something is, I can do this. This didn't happen for me last time, but I learned something new, and I'm going to apply that so that I win instead of fail. These, being easy on yourself with your words, not saying I'm stupid, saying I'm going to do better. Not saying I'm not good enough, saying I'm going to learn what I need to learn so I'm able to do this. I can do this. You have to believe it. You have to speak life. And so many people are so reckless with their words. Even complaining is dangerous, because when you complain about your situation or your life, you miss out on the beauty of it. There is always beauty, whether you're struggling or not. You can always find pockets of sunshine, which sounds so corny, but it's so true, of you being able to do this. You can do it. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to speak life over yourself, not death. And that's my solution, of course, is speaking life, not death. Words have power, and what you believe is what's going to happen. So please speak kindly over yourself, speak kindly to others, and speak powerful words over your life and over your dreams, because speaking it is the first step. So that was my last 5 points. This was a longer episode, but we have to break it down so that we recognize what we're doing, and now we can recover and do better. So now it's time for my last segment, which I call a song to expand your attention span. And I always suggest a song that's related to the previous topic I talked about, and that's longer than 3 minutes, because most songs nowadays are 3 minutes or less. And that song is Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. Thank you for listening to my podcast, and enjoy the rest of your week.